B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach, shiur Torah, Tu B'Shvat Sameach to everyone. Hopefully you guys celebrate some Tu B'Shvat perot, some vegetables, fruits, mezonot, all types of things. It's one of the happy holidays for Am Yisrael, that you don't have any restrictions. If you didn't do it, you don't have to necessarily fast or anything. But you missed out on an opportunity to enjoy yourself a little bit. Today's shiur will be for a special refuah shlema for Avi Mori, David ben Esriya, Doris bat Jora, Levana bat Sarah, Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Esther bat Tzipora, Dvora bat Mercedes, and all of Am Yisrael B'ezrat Hashem will have refuah shlema, refuat hanefesh, refuat haguf, and also our dear friend dear friends B'ezrat Hashem all over Klal Yisrael, and also among the goyim, the righteous goyim that Baruch Hashem support us, like for example Stefan ben Katerina, who Baruch Hashem has been making lots of sacrifices for the sake of Am Yisrael for many years now, without anyone noticing. It's people like that no one knows that they're doing so good until they're going to see their Olam Haba. So anyway, since we talk a lot about rebuke, throughout all the years we talked about how there's a mitzvah in the Torah of ocheach tocheach et amitecha. It's a biblical mitzvah where it says you must rebuke your brother. So throughout all of the years we talk a lot about rebuke. We talk a lot about rebuke because it's a mitzvah from the Torah. You are obligated to rebuke your brother, the Torah says. If you see him doing something wrong, if you see your brother, even if you don't know him, but if he's part of Am Yisrael, and you see him making a major sin, you see him driving on Shabbat, you see him that he wants to do Birkat Kohanim or be a Shliach Tzibur in the Bet Knesset, but you know that he's married to a Goya. He's not allowed. He's considered an Avaryan in the Torah language, which means like a criminal. We had a situation like this when we were in Boca Raton. They had a Shliach Tzibur that was a Kohen, but that was also, on top of all of his ma'alot, he was also married to a Goya. And but yet the Rabbi continued letting him week after week be the Shliach Tzibur, read from the Torah for everyone, and do Birkat Kohanim, and most of the people didn't know. And the ones that knew didn't know that he's not allowed to be a Kohen or a Shliach Tzibur.
Converted? Was she converted?
Even if she converted, he's not allowed to be with her.
Whoa. Because
he's a Kohen, but no, she was not. If she's converted, then she's not a Goya anymore, she's a Jew. Okay. No, we don't call Jews Goyim. We only call Goyim Goyim. When a Goy converts, he becomes a Jew. And that they're not called Goyim. They're called converts, but they're not called Goyim. Why do we still, since you already mentioned it, and I know there's a fellow that I've been in touch with over the years, that likes to make a stink. He's wrong, and I'll show why he's wrong. Since you mentioned it, B'siyat Dishmaya, might as well. Why do we still call converts? How come the Torah doesn't call them Jews?
To know where they came from.
Why do I wait? Okay, but Torah says
they have a higher regard, right? You have to respect them more.
Chazaku Baruch. So the Torah considers a convert forever. Why a convert forever? Because chaval that you would forget that you're a convert, meaning it'd be a waste of time, a very big loss for you to forget that you're a convert, because so long as you're a convert, that means that Am Yisrael is obligated to love you more than they love each other of the natural born Jews. In fact, they have to love you as much as they love God. Much more than a natural born Jew. Even more so, there's special treatment for a convert. You're not allowed to pressure him. Not allowed to pressure him. You want to do business with a convert, you have to tread carefully, walk on eggshells. a convert, even if he steals. Torah says if you steal and you don't have any money, you become a slave. That's Torah. This obviously is not applied anymore because we don't have a Sanhedrin. But if somebody steals money, they pull a Bernie Madoff on people, and now you come back to collect the money. He doesn't have the money. He spent it already. He bought a bunch of gummy bears. So now he doesn't have any money to pay back. So okay, no problem. You're going to be a slave for the next 7 years. What about if you're a convert? A convert cannot become a slave. A convert cannot, even if he stole, cannot become a slave. Gemara Masechet Yoma says a convert cannot become a slave. Why he cannot become a slave? Since he's not allowed to own a slave. He's not allowed to own a natural born Jew that's a slave. He's also not allowed to become a slave. Why? He has special treatment. Convert has special treatment. So when you call a convert in a positive way, not in a chas v'shalom, in a negative way. Oh, look, you came from a bad place. No, chas v'shalom. You put him in a positive place, a positive way. It's a very, very big ma'ala. It's in fact something that a convert should never forget. This is why there is a debate among the Chachamim whether the convert should say the bracha Baruch Hashem in the morning, Shelo asani goy. You know, in Birkot HaShachar, we say every morning, thank you Hashem for not making me a goy. And some of the Chachamim say, no, he shouldn't say that. He shouldn't say that Baruch Hashem didn't make me a goy. Why? He made you a goy. You're born a goy. But then the other Chachamim says, yeah, it's like almost like the previous Gilgul. Why? Because it's the Rambam Psak La'alacha. The second that you converted, you got a brand new neshama. That day you dipped into the mikveh, you are a brand new baby. That's your new birthday. Your past birthday is irrelevant. Your past name is irrelevant. Your past history is irrelevant. How much so is it irrelevant? I'll explain to you how much irrelevant it is. If a brother and a sister convert, listen to this, Rabotai, this is Torah, it's not Yaron Reuven. I'm telling you Rambam. A brother and a sister convert. Now, is a brother and a sister allowed to marry each other? No, right? What is it called? Incest. In Hebrew, it's called Sfat HaKodesh. It's called Gilui Arayot. Gilui Arayot, death penalty. If a brother and a sister get married, death penalty. They both die. You understand? If a son marries his mother, Parashat Kedoshim Tiyu Ki Kadosh Ani, Kadosh Baruch Hu, the son marries his mom, he touches her even intimately, death penalty to both of them. If a convert and his mother or his sister or her father convert, they're allowed to marry each other.
Wait, what?
I repeat, if a convert, a boy, and his mother convert, they're allowed to marry each other according to the Torah. Now the Chachamim put a gzerah that it's not allowed anymore. Why not allowed? Even Torah allows it. Why? Because it still looks bad for the goyim. The goyim, if they see, they know you from the past, they know that she's your mom, and now you're marrying her. It's like, when he was a goy, he was righteous, now he's a Jew. They're crazy, these people. Look what kind of sinners they are, because they don't understand the Torah. They don't understand that these two people just converted, just became two new people. They just look alike, the old ones. It's not the same person. Look alike. So Torah says it's allowed. Now, I told you guys a story. I had a story where someone came to us and there was a woman that had a lot of issues, miskena, poor woman. Somebody did something inappropriate, Shem Yachem, to say the least. And she was a young girl, 19, 20 years old, and she was afraid to even talk to men. I told you have to go to Shidduch. She goes, Shidduch. I'm afraid to talk to men. Afraid to talk. Her father told me. I'm afraid to talk to anybody. Only person I trust is my father. That's it. She doesn't leave her father's side. She's so scared, so traumatized. Miskina, the poor woman. I can't do anything. What could I do? Do. And what happened? Why is my bringing that? Because her and her father were converts. So I brought this to my Rav, and after we talked to the father, I said, listen, this is a very serious situation. There's no chance this woman is going to go on a shidduch anytime soon. So Rav Ephraim says, according to halacha, if nobody knows them where they live, if they move to a different town where nobody knows them, they can get married. Allowed, mitzvah. Why? She's never going to be with another guy. She's never going to get married. And why? Chabad, she's going to be alone for the rest of her life. And her father is also traumatized from his previous wife. That's her mom. Traumatized from her, what she did to him, all types of horrible things. So both of them are traumatized. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made such a thing. According to halacha, they're allowed to get married. But as long as nobody knows them. Why? Because of this takana that the Chachamim put. The point being, Rabotai, is that a convert is very, very special in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Am Yisrael, you are my children, I'm your father, but for the converts and the orphans, I'm their father and their mother. Same applies, by the way, also to orphans. Orphans are very, very special people in the eyes of Hashem. Usually when Hashem mentions His love and affection to its converts, He also mentions it to orphans. And a person must be very, very careful when he deals with orphans and when he deals with widows and when he deals with converts. Same applies to widows. And the reason why is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu says these people have had already an affliction, a terrible thing happened to them. They're already suffering as it is. I have to protect them extra. You take advantage of these already weak people. You know, it's very difficult to be a strong person when you grew up without a mom or without a dad. It's very difficult to be a strong person after your love of your life died. It's very difficult to be a strong person after you no longer have connection with your Abba and Ima because they're no longer really your Abba and Ima. When a convert converts, the Rambam Pasak L'Halacha, Shulchan Aruch, same thing, Gemara, all over the place. It's not like an opinion. A person converts, he becomes a Jew, she becomes a Jew, their birth parents, they're still their biological parents, you can't refute that, but spiritually they're no longer their parents. They're no longer their parents. Hashem says, I'm their parents now. Now you still have to give them kavod, you still have to give them honor and so on, for the not for the sake of, it's not kibud avayim. It's not a mitzvah of kibud avayim, because they're not your parents. Why you have to give them honor? You have to give them honor as akarat tov. Show them gratitude for bringing you into the world and supporting you and helping you and so on. But it's not mitzvah of kibud avayim. Kibud avayim is to Hashem. That's your Abba and Ima, when you're a convert. So a person has to know that when he's messing and hurting a convert or an orphan or a widow, he is personally, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you're personally attacking me. And I'll take the sword and I'll fight you. It's the only time in the entire Torah Hashem says, I'll take the sword and I'll fight you. I'll take revenge against those people. That's why it's foolish. Sometimes you hear these stories of some of these communities. They're like anti-converts. They're like anti-converts. No, we don't accept converts here. HaKadosh Baruch Hu accepts them 36 places in the Torah. Accepts them more than natural-born Jews. The Rambam writes a letter to a convert that sent him a letter. I wish I was you. Rambam writes, I wish I was you, to the convert. This convert didn't ask him like a simple question. Oh, Rabbi, am I allowed to go here? No, what do you ask him? Listen, this Mishneh Torah that you wrote, it's hard for me to read. Can you write it in Arabic? You know, Mishneh Torah is 14 books. It's not like today where you have a print machine. Okay, let's just change the font to a different language. You have a certain software. That's it, finished. You don't have to do nothing. Go to Google, changes everything. No. Rambam wrote everything handwritten. 14 books. A convert asks him, it's hard for me to understand. Can you read it? Can you write it for me? The whole Mishneh Torah. Can you write it for me in Arabic? Different language. The Rambam writes, yes, I'll write it for you in Arabic, but just know it's not going to have the same meaning because the Sfat HaKodesh, the holy language, has certain words that you cannot translate. But I'll write for you in Arabic. And he wrote in Arabic. 14 books in Arabic. That's the love of a convert. So when HaKadosh Baruch Hu says I have special rules for them, someone he goes against them, it's a very, very foolish thing. But, Rabotai Yekarim, I also have to tell you the negative side. The Gemara says that the converts are like a skin disease to the nation of Israel. On one hand, they're a skin disease because when they're really good, like I just mentioned, Hashem loves them so much that the rest of the natural-born Jews that are not, really righteous, not all of them, obviously there's many tzaddikim among Am Yisrael, but the ones that are not so righteous, the ones that are like, 50-50, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, they get even more affected by those people. You see this new convert, he's only a convert for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. You're a Jew already for 30, 40, 50 years, from birth, but you see this guy, he's learning the Shas like he's learning Aleph Bet. It's very easy for him. He's praying like Hashem is right in front of him. You're praying like Hashem has never been here. You know, it makes him upset. Why? Because you're new and he's old and he doesn't understand. How come you have such a divekut b'Hashem, gluedness to Hashem, and he's struggling so much, she's struggling so much. So it affects them in a negative way. But on the other hand, Rabotai, the Gemara also says that there's skin disease for Am Yisrael when they're bad converts. What does it mean, bad converts? Sometimes they're fakers. They don't really convert for the right reason. They convert for marriage. They convert for money. They convert for social status. But worse yet, worse than all of what I just mentioned, can you imagine there's actually something worse than converting for money? Can you imagine there's something worse than someone that's converting for marriage? Who can imagine such a thing? I can imagine such a thing. Why can I see it? There are certain people that should have never converted. Never converted. Why? They hate Jews. That's much worse. Much worse than someone that converted for marriage. Much worse than someone that converted for money. Why? Because the guy or the girl that converted, but she converted because she thinks she's better than the Jews. He thinks she's better than the Jews, so I'm going to do better than them. That person is an Erev Rav. That's Erev Rav. It's a very dangerous place. There are several of them on the internet right now. Shem Yirachem Aleinu. One of them calls himself a rabbi. He literally destroys people's lives. For free though. Doesn't charge. That's this big ma'ala. He says, I do everything for free. Everything for free, does, but destroys people's lives. Tells them, yeah, convert wherever you want, do whatever you want. The rabbis don't know what they're talking about. I mention things in the Torah, he says, just because I disagree with them, that's why they go against me. He shows you all types of things that he mentioned, because people don't know better. And the worst part yet is best friends. Who are his best friends? Missionaries and Messianic Jews. That's his best friends from his old life. Why? He found more likeness among them than he found among Am Yisrael. Now you think he's the only one? There's some of his customers that go on his interviews and go comment and do all types of things. Now, there are many of them, unfortunately. There are many people that are converting right now. Unfortunately, if you're going to have a large people making a major change in their life, there's also going to be a large amount of casualties. That's just a reality. Just like if you have a lot of Baalei Tshuva, you're going to have a lot of problems from the Baalei Tshuva world. You have a lot of people going into the medical world. You're also going to have a lot of medical malpractice. A lot of people going to the legal world. A lot of people are going to have different issues in the legal world. Same thing, I remember when there was a huge storm of people going into the brokerage industry back in the 80s. In the 80s, most of you probably weren't even born back then. But anyway, back in the 80s, there was a huge storm of people going into the brokerage world in that world. You know what happened? There was also a huge storm of fraud. Huge storm of scammers, stealing money from people, committing all types of scams. They looked at it as a license to steal. So you have a lot of, it's not, it just happens everywhere. So now we're seeing that the Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah 3b 4a says that there's going to be a lot of converts before Mashiach comes, but we're also seeing a lot more problems from the conversion world. A lot of people are converting for the wrong reason, or perhaps should have never converted at all because they actually don't understand what it means, what kind of merit it is to be part of Klal Yisrael, to be a convert. They don't understand what it means. So they think, no, I converted, it's easy for me to keep the rules, so I'm better than everybody else. And that's a mistake. Now, that you go up to just anyone start rebuking them? No. Why? Because despite the fact that they're making a mistake, you still cannot embarrass them in public just like that. You still cannot treat them just like you would treat a natural born Jew. Why? Like it says, you have to be extra careful. Extra careful. Does that mean you ignore the problem? Absolutely not. Now, many times, people that either join Klal Yisrael as converts or are new Baalei Tshuva, they hit a struggle with what? when it comes to the rabbis. But I don't mean the rabbis of today. Everybody has a struggle with that. There's many good ones, there's many bad ones. And it's hard to determine who's good and who's bad. You literally have to have lots of merits to have a good rabbi. But more so than that, lots of people have a struggle following what the sages said. Because they don't see the value of the sages, of the chachamim, of Chazal. Chachmenu zichronam livracha. Our Chazal means our sages, may they be remembered in with blessing. Maybe they be blessed. May their memory be blessed. Now, people think that when we talk about one of the Gdolei Olam that we had, one of the Gdolei Ador, whether it's someone as recent as Rav Ovadia, Rav Eliashiv, Rav Shvadron, Rav Galinsky, the Steipler Gaon, the Baba Sali, we mention someone from recent years, past generation, let's say, or when we mention someone like the Chafetz Chaim, Rav Wasserman, or the Gaon Mivilna, or the Rabbi Yisrael Misalant, or we go further back, we go to the Baal Shem Tov, or we go further back, we're going to go to the Rambam, the Rashi, Ramban, Rashba, or we go further back, we're going to go to the time of the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. You mention all these names. I'm not name dropping here. I'm telling you names that so you can become familiar with them. People think there's no difference between any of them. Anything you mention, a rabbi today that's at the local shul gave a good shiur, or Rabbi Yaron Reuven, he gave a good shiur. He's Gdol Ador. He's such a good shiur. He's Gdol, he's Mashiach. He's Gdol Ador. He mekubal. Rabotai, stop kidding ourselves. And I know I'm mentioning myself. I know I'm not delirious. I'm not that old yet. I know where I stand. If I am the dust under any of the people's feet that I just mentioned, I'll be very happy. Why? I know where I stand. Question is, does the rest of everyone? When they mention the names of the Gdolei Ador, and people say, yeah, but there are many other opinions, without even knowing the other opinions. They just know there's always other opinions. Meaning it's okay to just ignore this Gadol. It's okay to just disregard what he says. It's not such a big deal that he said it. When a person does that, they do not understand the type of fire that they're dealing with. Now, when we rebuke and tell people that they're doing something wrong, it is very different than when the average person fulfilled the mitzvah of rebuking. Now, we've talked many times over the years about you have to rebuke your fellow. You see your fellow driving on Shabbat, doing anything against the Torah, you got to do something about it. Now, I've told you different strategies of rebuke. If you have a relationship with this person, pull him to the side, tell him, listen, why don't you stop talking in shul? Why don't you stop driving on Shabbat? You don't know this person, take a CD, give him a CD, not allowed on Shabbat because the CD is muktzeh, but on other times, invite him to the shul, send him a link. That's all of those are forms of rebuke. You're bringing the truth to this person by showing them that it's different than what their truth is. But you have to do something. You can't just live as if you don't care, you just mind your own business. But perhaps what we haven't mentioned enough, we've mentioned it, but Baruch Hashem not enough, is the prerequisite to rebuking. We've had a couple of shurim about this, but I don't think we're ever going to have enough. And the reason why is because in order for you to rebuke, Torah says, "Ocheach tocheach et amitecha, velo tisa alav chet." You must rebuke your brother, but don't get to a way of sin as a result of this rebuke. Meaning, don't let this rebuke let you think for a moment that you can do whatever you want. Meaning, if you see somebody doing something wrong, you could do whatever you want to get the message to them. Wrong. Very wrong. Wrong as wrong can be. In order to rebuke, Rabotai, we had a whole shiur about this in the Geret Ramban series. You must love Am Yisrael. You must love Am Yisrael. If you do not love Am Yisrael, you're not allowed to rebuke. Why? Because your rebuke is going to come from a bad place. Your rebuke is going to come from arrogance. Your rebuke is going to come from you know and they don't. Your rebuke is going to come from I told you so. Your rebuke is going to come from hatred. Your rebuke is going to come from jealousy. Your rebuke is going to come from a bad place called the Sitra Achra. And it's going to cause more damage than good. So how do we know if we have Ahavat Yisrael, loving of Am Yisrael? A lot of people tell me they have a love of Am Yisrael, but when a push comes to shove, not even close. Now, you have to love Am Yisrael, you have to love our very dear converts as well, but you also have to face facts. Not everybody is judged alike. Not everybody is tzaddik. Not everyone is perfect. Not everyone is easy to love. But we cannot always worry about everybody else. We have to worry about ourselves first. We have to determine whether we really have Ahavat Yisrael. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, B'parashat Beshalach, he tells Am Yisrael, Leman ansenu ayelech betorati im lo. Moshe Rabbeinu tells Am Yisrael that this man is going to come down as a food from heaven for them, but it's going to come to them day by day. It's not going to come to them one portion for the whole year Yoseichi, because that's the reality. Hashem could have simply just gave them one little pill, and they don't have to eat for 40 years. He doesn't need to feed them every day. He's not subject to nature. He is nature. So if he decided that you don't have to change clothes, that's what he did. Am Yisrael did not change clothes for 40 years. That's what it says in Sefer Dvarim. Moshe Rabbeinu tells Am Yisrael, you didn't change clothes for 40 years. Same outfit for 40 years, and it was clean every day. The clouds of glory were cleaning everybody as if they were a washing machine at all times. Always brand new, like it just came off the shelf. You didn't have to change shoes, you didn't have to change your gown. Everybody was wearing brand new clothes. But when it came to food, no, you have to eat every day. If you could change nature, that I don't have to wear the same clothes, that I don't have to change clothes at least once a week. I have to change something for 40 years. You try to wear the same T-shirt for 2 weeks in a row. See what happens to it. After 2 weeks, you're going to get a lawsuit in the mail. T-shirt versus you. Stop. Stop it. This is well, come on, no? Khalas. Say, I've turned colors already because of you. What do you want? Go try a different T-shirt. You don't have to change clothes for 40 years. It's a big deal. So if he could change nature like that, of course, he could change nature as far as when it comes to the food. But no, Moshe Rabbeinu says, this food, this manna is going to come from heaven, day by day, so I can test them whether they will follow my Torah or not. Whether they will follow my Torahs, Torah. Why is Hashem will follow? There's several things, several ta'amim. Couple of them is, one simple one, the man dropped for everyone. Everyone got their own meal. But based on how righteous you were, the man was closer to your house. If you are tzaddik, like Moshe Rabbeinu and some other tzaddikim during that generation, the manna came right to your door. You open the door, the manna is waiting for you. Please eat me. Any flavor you want, you don't even have to say, just think about it. Even if you think about it while you're chewing, all of a sudden you're eating, let's say, something that tastes like steak, but all of a sudden you want ice cream too. Change to ice cream also. Whatever you want. And some chachamim say that it will change the form, the shape of it would change. Wonderful. Righteous, right to your door. If a person is wicked, he has to go look for it. Got to go above the hill, under the hill, around the hill. Go look for your own manna. Why? It's not next to your door. So the manna every day was a constant test of whether you were better than the day before. If every day it's above the hill, above the hill, above the hill, that means your tshuva is not working. You continue to listen to wicked speakers, it's not going to work. You continue to learn about Christianity, it's not going to work. No one becomes more righteous by listening to Christianity. You're listening to all these self-help gurus from the Goyim, not going to help you, not going to become more righteous. Mana is going to be far away from you. How do you see it in your real life? How much bracha you have in your money? If you have to work day and night, non-stop, just to get the same amount of money, while the next guy works regular hours, 9 to 5, simple, he gets his money. Guess what? He has bracha, you don't. Why does he have bracha, you don't? You have to ask yourself that. Could be because he's more righteous than you. So the mana was a constant cheshbon nefesh, self-accounting that a person does, because it's also embarrassing. Why? You can't hide it. If it's right next to your door, everybody sees they're right next to each other. Wow, look at him, tzaddik. Look at that, his mana is right next to his. Look at it. He only has to take one step. Oh, look at him, 2 steps. Oh, look at him, 3 steps. Oh, where's his mana? Where's his mana? The guy comes out embarrassed, he's looking, where's my mana? Where's my mana? He says, no. Everybody looks at him and goes, well, you ate already? Like they don't want to make him feel bad. You ate already? Yeah, I'm full. And then his little kid, kids, they can't stop themselves. Abba, we're hungry, where's the mana? Shem Yirachem, what embarrassment. Oh, we thought you ate. Yeah, we ate. Shad, no, mind your business, go to your family. Why are you asking me if I ate? Why, it's coming from your cheshbon. The poor guy has to go look for his mana in his next door neighbor's house. Oh, this is yours? Oh, I was looking for the guy, lost and found. Here's your mana. Rasha merusha. The guy is walking around with a tail between his legs. Why? Because everybody knows. Everybody knows. So, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Leman ansenu ayelech b'toratim lo. I'm going to test you. I'm going to see if you follow my teachings. Okay, beseder. I'm going to follow my teachings. But part of the teachings, Rabotai Karim, part of the teachings is not just not just listening to the simple things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, that he says don't drive on Shabbat, don't light fires and so on, but also listen to his children, listen to his Chachamim. This is one of the problematic places that we have all over the place. Why? Because people simply do not value Chachamim like they should, because they don't understand what they're dealing with. They think that just because he read a lot of books, that doesn't make him so special. And you're right, just because he read a lot of books, it doesn't make him so special. But the rest of what I'm going to tell you does. Now, the Sha'arei Tshuva, Rabbeinu Yonah Migerondi says, in the third gate, he says that he's seen that there are major sins that are treated like as if they're a minor significance, like they're not a big deal, even if they're punishable by death. Where some people, you're talking about 800 years ago, we're not talking about right now, people driving on Shabbat like it's a mitzvah. We're not talking about now. You saw 800 years ago, you said there's some people that are so ignorant of the truth that they see their friends making sins and they don't even think it's a big deal. What? So what if he has a non-Jewish girlfriend? So what? No, they're young still. They're only 17 years old. They're cute together. Maybe she'll convert. They're cute together. Look, she gives so much kavod to his ima. No, she's a nice girl. What's wrong with her? She makes him happy. What? Oh, better yet, no, she's Jewish at least. No, he's Jewish, she's Jewish. So what if they're dating before marriage? What's the big deal? I don't know. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says Isur Karet, death penalty. Sanhedrin is there, they kill both of them. You're saying it's not a big deal. Like Nida is not a big deal. Like they just removed it from the Torah. They removed it. Like it's not there anymore. So Rabbeinu Yonah says that some people see things that are major problems, major sins, as if they're nothing. Even if they're punishable by death or by excision, meaning get kicked out of the keilah and so on. And they look at it as if it's an added virtue. Meaning as if it's someone that only the tzaddikim do. Now, only the tzaddikim preserve themselves before marriage. Only the tzaddikim, they learn Torah every day. Only the tzaddikim. Meaning the ignorance is not a new thing. We've always had it. There's always been people that don't know the difference. And the problem is that there are a lot of people that ignore it. But then he says, even in his day there was still reproof, there was still rebuke. He says, even if there was rebuke, the rebuke was to no avail. Didn't help anyway. He told the guy, listen, you cannot be with this girl. You cannot steal money from Goyim. You cannot steal money from anybody. The guy doesn't listen to you. He goes, listen, you do you, I'll do me. Mind your business. Mind your business. He doesn't listen to nothing. Unfortunately, some people like that exist. As it says in the prophet Isaiah chapter 48 verse 8, even from then your ear was not open. Meaning even when HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent you the lifesaver, he sent you a ship, he sent you a helicopter, he sent you a rescue, he sent you all type of people to tell you the truth, your ear was not open. That's why when I tell people, they ask me, listen, can you call my brother, can you call my sister, can you call my friend, they're about to marry such and such, that's not allowed, or they're about to do such and such, that's not allowed. I tell them, listen, first they have to watch a few lectures to see if their ear is open. See if they're receptive to the truth. Why? If they're not receptive to the truth, why should I suffer? Why should I waste my time? I could use that time to talk to somebody that is open. If someone is not willing to even hear the truth, is not willing to invest into searching for the truth, you cannot help such a person. You can't. Why? The reality. You tell a person, listen, if you take one more step, you're going to fall off a cliff and you're going to die. He said, listen, mind your business, okay? He starts yelling at you, embarrassing you. Tell him, yeah, but if you take, I'm warning you, if you take another step, you marry this guy, you marry this girl, you're going to ruin your life. And they start yelling at you, don't talk to me. What does that mean? That means that person does not care about life and death and does not believe you. You cannot help such a person. But if he says, listen, you know what? Why? Why do you think I'm going to die? Why do you think I'm going to die? Let me show you. And you give him the information, you give him the proofs of why he's putting his life in risk, why she's putting. That means that person's ear is open. But if the person is not even willing to watch a lecture, he's not even willing to see the truth, or better yet, he wants special treatment, he wants you to fly all the way there and meet him one-on-one or something, as if you have nothing to do in the world, as if he's the only person out of 8 billion. Such a person, you cannot waste your time. There are many, many easier customers in the world. So, in the days of Rabbeinu Yonah, he says, even the people that they would rebuke, sometimes it was to no avail. Now, many wicked people, he says, will forsake their path, for they will become cognizant of the destruction and loss contained within that path when made aware of the gravity of their sin and what awaits for them. He says, the people that, if you tell them, listen, Jews are not allowed to marry Goyim. You come nice to them. You want to be, you want to tell them about Genom yet. And he says, listen, buddy, if I had a Jewish girl come to me, then I'll marry a Jew. This is what Hashem gave me, this Goyah. That's what I'm going to go with. You marry a Jew that you want to marry, I'm going to marry her. I like her. He doesn't understand the simple language. So tell him, listen, since you don't understand, can you at least invest a little bit of time into finding out why? Yes, okay, here. Rabbi Yaron, Reuven, Rabbi Mizrahi, they made a couple of shurim about the Genom that you're going to go to for marrying this person. What? Huh? What are you talking? Why Genom? Why? Oh, that's what Rabbi Yonah says. If they don't understand, nice approach, you have to tell them the gravity of their sin. What's going to happen to them? You have to. Why? Because then, at that point, you don't tell them the gravity of the sin, you don't tell them what's going to happen, that's it, they're avud, they're lost. And those who stumble, those that fell for this sin, gather strength to conquer their lawless desire. For how can they bear to witness the destruction of their own soul? Once they realize, okay, if I marry this girl, if I marry this guy, if I keep driving on Shabbat, I'm going to go to a bad place forever. They don't want to do it. Now, the only people that are not going to react to this are either people that simply don't believe. You tell them, here's the proofs of why you're going to go to Gehenom for this. And they ignore you. Why? They don't believe it. To them, it's no different than a Hollywood movie. They don't believe. They don't believe. Or they are so addicted to the sin that they are literally in a spiritual prison to their Yetzirah. They know the truth. They know, listen, I'm not allowed to marry a Goya. They know I'm not allowed to violate Shabbat. I'm not allowed to steal. I'm not allowed. I know I'm not allowed. I have a few of those miskenim. More than a few of those miskenim send me messages on a regular basis. I know I'm not allowed. I know I'm not allowed, but I can't stop myself. Can't stop myself from wasting seed. Can't stop myself from going with zonot. Can't stop myself from stealing. Can't stop myself from driving on Shabbat. Can't stop myself. All types of sins that people become addicted to. These people, what do you do with them? You cry. Cry for them. Pray for them. The only thing you can do. Nothing else. Nothing else. Can't do nothing for them. The lecture is not going to help. Send them 1,000 lectures. Not going to help. They know the truth already. They know. They agree. They're just addicted to the sin. They cannot see themselves past that first step. And until they take that first step, nothing you do is going to help them. And that's assuming they believe again. They don't believe, it's a different story. So now, in the beginning of chapter 3 in the third gate of Sharet Tshuva, of Rabbeinu Yonah Sharet Tshuva, he says, the situation can be compared to a person who wants to travel to a city and is told how the road is filled with thorns and snares and painful rocks. If he needs to be there, this will not deter him from going. However, if he's told that a lion is on the road and a leopard is lying in wait, he will refrain from traveling that road. Meaning, you tell the guy, listen, nice approach. You marry this person, this non-Jewish person, and you're a Jew, it's going to ruin your life. You continue stealing from people in your cash advance business, you're going to ruin your Olam Haba. You continue violating Shabbat, you have no Olam Haba. And the guy says, listen, I know it's a little more difficult, I'll manage, I'll find a way. So Rabbeinu Yonah says, okay, he didn't get it the nice way. You have to tell him, listen, when it says in the Torah, you don't have a share of the world to come, it doesn't just mean you just go blank. Like a movie ends, game over, it doesn't mean that. When it says no share of the world to come, it's shiur number 84 from Pirkei Avot. It's a place where that soul will be tortured in a horrible, horrible place with no end. That's the lion. When you told them that there's thorns and there's rocks and there's going to be difficulty in this intermarriage, there's difficulty in a life that's dishonest business, these kids are going to follow suit and so on, he didn't listen. So he told him, listen, you go on this road, there's a lion waiting for you, there's a leopard waiting for you, you're going to die. There's a better chance he's going to listen. Better chance he's going to listen. Meaning Rabbeinu Yonah says that there are certain people, there is only way for you to help. This is a book about tshuva. This is the ultimate book of tshuva. There's no other book that's greater than this, other than Sefer Dvarim, the 5 books of Moses, the 5th book. This is anyone that talks about tshuva, this is it. He says there are certain people, there's no other way to get them to wake up and leave the sin other than telling them a rebuke that hurts. No other way. Now, he says after he learns and knows the mitzvot and what the transgressions are, meaning what is he has gotten some wisdom, he knows what's going on, he knows that Chilul Shabbat means what, keep Shabbat means what, He must learn the vile nature of those sins, of those transgressions, and the loss and destruction associated with them, that he may distance his soul from them, that he may reprimand himself, meaning the next time he has a desire to do something bad, now he's going to rebuke himself. No, listen, buddy. Yeah, she looks pretty, she looks good, she even said hello to me, but she's also going to say hello to me in Genom too. Not allowed. Yeah, I'm alone and no one's watching except Hashem, and that's enough. He starts knowing enough about sinning that he's going to rebuke himself, stop himself from sinning. Because it comes with destruction, the sin. The sin is always delicious. Never fool yourself and think that the sin is not fun. The sin is delicious until you become disgusted from it. But the path between delicious sin and disgusting is a long path. It takes a while to get there. You don't just stop sinning and you think it's disgusting. You don't just wake up one day and say, oh, immodesty is disgusting. Yeah, good luck with that one. No, this woman on TV, no, she's ugly. Yeah, all right, buddy. To get from sin is delicious to sin is disgusting is a long path. It requires a lot of kedusha, watching your eyes, behavior, reading a lot of Torah, sanctifying your neshama, doing all types of things to get to that point. Meaning it's a long path. You don't wake up Baba Sali. So how do you get there? How do you get to this point? One of the ways is that you have to learn the details of punishment, which will give you somewhat of an image, a mental image of the destruction that comes along with this sin. Meaning, first approach is it's not worth it. It's not worth it to sin. That's what you got to tell yourself. That's what you got to tell other people. Now, remembering the punishments associated with these sins, so he could chastise himself, he could chastise others, and this knowledge is called musar. And for those who offer musar, those who offer rebuke, it will be fitting to acquire such knowledge. If you want to teach other people, you want to help other people, you have to know musar. Now, where is the musar needed first, he says? The first level, in this stringency associated, meaning where is the biggest problem that you have to help people see the truth, he says, is when it comes to rabbinic rulings. When it comes to the rabbinical mitzvot. The rabbis say that when you wake up in the morning or before you eat bread, you have to wash your hands. The rabbi said that before you eat or after you eat, you have to do a blessing. The rabbi said there's an iruv. The rabbi said that there's Chanukah, there's Purim. There's rabbinical mitzvot. There's many rabbinic. There's 7 that are the key, but they break off, just like the 10 Commandments, into many others. There's many halachot in every aspect. Even Shabbat, even though it's a biblical mitzvah, there are many parts of Shabbat that are rabbinical. Like, for example, muktzeh. What is muktzeh? Muktzeh means that this is something that does not belong on Shabbat. This is something you put aside. So if you put it aside because you're not allowed to use it, that means you're also not allowed to touch it. So for example, you're not allowed to write on Shabbat. If you write 2 letters on Shabbat, that's like you drove a car on Shabbat. So now, what does that mean? Huh?
What about 1 letter? What do you mean?
It's also not allowed, but if you do it on purpose. But you write 2 letters, it's a worse. The point is that if you wrote a word, which is usually more than 1 letter, because it's a word, it has to be a word. You wrote on Shabbat, that's like you drove on Shabbat, you lit fire on Shabbat. Now, the rabbi said to keep you away from the sin altogether, you're not even allowed to hold a pen. Not even allowed to hold a pen. Now, since you're not allowed to use your phone, you're not even allowed to touch your phone. Not allowed to touch your phone. And so on and so forth. So that's muktzeh. There's certain things that they're forbidden to you, you're also not allowed to touch them. That's muktzeh. Now that's a rabbinical mitzvah. It's not a biblical mitzvah. Hashem didn't say, don't touch your phone or don't touch the pen. He said, don't write. Don't use electricity. But the rabbi said, listen, we love you so much, we know how bad it is that you're going to get punished if you violate Hashem's mitzvah. We want to protect you, to keep you away. We'll put a fence around the fence to keep you away from the big sin. Don't even touch it, don't even get close to it. That's why, for example, adults are not allowed to play basketball. According to many poskim, adults are not allowed to play with a ball by themselves. Like if a bunch of adults are playing basketball on the court at some place, they're all violating Shabbat. Why? The ball is muktzeh. But how come you're allowed to play with your kid? Because he's a kid. You're allowed to play with your kid, but if everybody's there is not a kid, they're all adults, not allowed to play basketball on Shabbat. Aside from the fact that the ball is muktzeh, according to many poskim, aside from that, it's not appropriate to do it on Shabbat. It's divrei chol. It's divrei chol. So, everything I just mentioned to you is rabbinical. So some people say, it's just rabbinical, right? So it's not really such a big deal. That's what Rabbi Yonah is saying 800 years ago. He says the first place you have to rebuke people is about rabbinical mitzvot. Because those are the ones that are most common for people to ignore them as if they're not a big deal. The Torah requires us to accept the decrees of the prophets and the judges. As it says in the Torah in many places, in Mishlei, in Dvarim, chapter 17, verse 11, where it says to heed to the rules of the sages and to carefully comply with their restrictions. The pasuk literally says you must not deviate from what they tell you, right or left. So here the sages are giving the power of ruling by HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. So when you violate the rabbinical mitzvah, it's not a big deal. It's the opposite. What's the opposite? You need to know, Rabbi Yonah says. Rabbi Yonah was related to the Ramban. Just so you know, this is not just some nobody. This is one of the Dolei Olam. Rabbi Yonah says the following: you need to know, why does one who violate a rabbinic ruling evoke the death penalty more so than one who transgresses a positive or a negative commandment from the Torah? Meaning, Torah says if you steal, you get caught, pay double. You don't get caught, you want to return it, pay what it cost. You stole 100, you give back 100. If you're just turning yourself in. But if you get caught, you have to pay double, you have to pay 200. But if you violate a rabbinical mitzvah, death penalty. All of them. All of them a death penalty. How does that make sense? This is the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, don't steal. And he says, listen, the punishment for stealing, pay double. But he says the punishment for rabbinical sins, death penalty. So Rabbi Yonah says, how come? The explanation is as follows. One who violates the rabbinic ruling, one who has the audacity, meaning he does it on purpose, not on an accident. If it's an accident, it's a different story. For everything. We're talking about, he says, listen, Iruv not for me. Muktzeh not for me. Whatever it is that you guys say, not for me. Not for me. I'm going to do whatever I want. I'll do whatever I want. Listen, I'm going to keep just the Torah, like the Karaites. Whatever it says in the Torah, that's what I'm going to keep. Oh yeah? How are you going to put on tefillin? What? Tefillin, I'm by tefillin. How do you know what tefillin are? Show me one place in the Torah it says the word tefillin. Look, you're never going to find the word tefillin in the Torah one time. One time you're not going to see the word tefillin in the Torah. Why? In Torah it's called totafot. How are you going to know that totafot is tefillin? The oral Torah, the rabbis. How are you going to know that the totafot, the tefillin, are actually kosher totafot, kosher tefillin? The rabbis. The sages that we have. So now, he says, a person who has the audacity to go against the rabbinic rulings does so by treating their dictates lightly, and not because of his yetzer hara. Rather, his sight has been dimmed, preventing him from seeing the brightness of their words. He walks not in the radiance of faith. He refuses to be bound by their decree. He does not bother to fulfill their dictum, since it's not written clearly in the Torah. He says, if I don't see a verse in the Torah that says muktzeh, I'm not keeping it. I don't care about muktzeh. If I don't see, all right, all these different things that the rabbis say, I'm not keeping it. He says, this person, he's not violating because of Yetzirah. Has nothing to do with Yetzirah. It's ego. It's him. He doesn't want to listen to anyone. He wants to be Rabbi. He wants to be Rashi. He wants to be Tosfot. He wants to be Rambam. He wants to be Moshe Rabbeinu. He wants to be God. This person, death penalty. Can't. Why? The longer he lives, the more sins he's going to make. It's better that he dies. Why? He's going to make less sins. It's like the Ben Sorer Umoreh, the wayward child. Why they kill this 12, 11-year-old, almost 13, but he becomes an alcoholic and a fat little guy with eats non-stop. The rabbis say if this guy doesn't listen to rebuke by his parents, he continues drinking wine, he continues eating meat, he's addicted to this stuff. Torah says even though he's only 12 years old, they kill him. Why they kill him? Says, listen, it's better they kill him now that it's minor sins, rather than he grow up and steal his father's money, maybe even kill his father and his mother because of money, start killing other people, torturing the community. It's better you kill him at 12. Better. Now Chachamim say this never actually happened. Some say it did. The point being, Rabotai, Torah is not vicious when it says death penalty. It's the opposite. It says someone that's a sinner and does not plan on doing tshuva, it's better that they die. Why? At least they're going to sin less, because there's a consequence for those sins. Someone that ignores the sages just thinks that the Rambam is just another guy that lived 900 years ago. That Rabbi Yosef Karo, the Baal Shulchan Aruch, he's just some old man from 500 years ago that wrote a big book that's popular. It's a bestseller. That Rav Ovadia, Rav Eliashiv, Rav Kanievsky, all the Gedolei Olam that we've had walk among us in just the last several years, they're just, old men that read a lot of books. What's the big deal? They had a good memory. He says someone that looks at the sages like that, it's better off that he dies. Why? He's going to sin everywhere across the Torah. Everything that they say, he's going to do the opposite. Not because of his Yetzirah. His Yetzirah is not even working. His Yetzirah is on vacation. He's doing everything by himself. Because there's no desire to go against the rabbis. It's not like immorality. Immorality, you can at least say to Hashem, listen Hashem, I went with the girl, or I did it myself, or whatever, or because why? I have a desire for it. I ate the non-kosher because I have a desire for eating. I stole the money because I have a desire for stealing. He says, going against the rabbis, there's no desire. It's outright ego. It's outright the guy is just a rasha. That's it. He doesn't want to listen to nobody but himself. He's like a guy like that, lost cause. Lost cause. Why? That's the foundation of our Torah. And we'll go over in a moment why this leads us to Ahavat Yisrael, because we're going to need to know who these people are that people think are just regular people. Someone says, if I don't see it in the Torah, it's not clear in the Torah, and does not behave as one who has violated the words of the Torah, is in deep trouble. And the reason why is because it says that this guy is going to make sins against the rabbinic rulings, and he doesn't even see himself as a sinner. At least a guy that went with a married woman, or a guy that wasted seed, or a guy that stole, or a woman that they feel like they did something wrong. Whereas this guy that's going against the rabbis, he doesn't even think there's anything wrong with it. It's like, yeah, listen, that's your rabbi, I have a different rabbi. Who's your rabbi? You wouldn't know him. You wouldn't know him. You wouldn't know him. You ask him for the name, he gives you some Rabbi Taranta from some hole in the wall that no one ever heard of. Oh, so that Rabbi Taranta, he's bigger than Gedolei Olam. He's bigger than Rav Ovadia. He's bigger than Rav Yashi. He's bigger than Chafetz Chaim. He's bigger than them. You listen to him over them. He gave you the eter to do whatever you're doing. Consequently, he deserves, because of this situation, he deserves a death penalty for casting down even one from among all of the beneficial rulings. So now we see that when it comes to rabbinic rulings, Torah considers them very important, not just important. In fact, the sages in the Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah, page 35, he quotes here. He says, when it says in Shir HaShirim, in a Song of Songs, for your love is better than wine, it's really Shlomo HaMelech says that the rabbinic rulings are more beloved to Hashem than the wine of the Torah, meaning than his own rulings. Hashem loves the rulings of the sages more than he loves his own rules. Why? Because you toiled to get that rabbinic ruling. You didn't just get it because you felt like doing it. You did it to protect the people. You did it because you love the people. The sages loved the people so much that they made these rules to protect them. So Hashem says, I love your rules better than mine. Now, Rabbeinu Yonah in the third gate, 7th section, he says in the book of Deuteronomy, Sefer Dvarim, chapter 10, verse 12, he says, and now Yisrael, what does Hashem, your God, request of you? Only to fear Hashem, your God. That's a pasuk in the Torah giving us one of many places, the mitzvah of fearing God. There's a mitzvah in the Torah, you must fear God. Anyone that tells you you're not supposed to fear God has never read Sefer Dvarim apparently. There's a mitzvah in the Torah, it's an obligation, you have to fear God. How much? Moshe Rabbeinu says that's the only thing, that's it. You fear God, you're going to fulfill the entire Torah. He says, what did God ask of you? Just to fear Him. Why? If you fear Him, you're going to do everything else. So, Rabbeinu Yonah extrapolates this and says, through this, Hashem favors His creation. As He says in a different place in Psalm 147, verse 11, Hashem favors those who fear Him. So Rabbeinu Yonah says that the rabbinic decrees and their restrictions are the basis for following the path to fear Hashem. Meaning the ultimate way that one can show his fear of the Almighty is being an expert in the rabbinic mitzvot. Ultimate way. They create a fence and a distancing, preventing one from contact with prohibition of a Torah. Just the way an owner of a field fences in his field because of its prized value, for he fears lest people enter his property and turn it into a place of grazing. So he says that when a person really fears the Almighty, how are you going to show you fear violating it? By following the rabbinic decrees that are in essence a fence around the rule that Hashem made. Hashem made the rule of Shabbat, don't drive on Shabbat, don't burn, don't work on Shabbat. So the rabbis made a fence around that, don't even go to your job on Shabbat. And pretend like you're not working. Don't even talk about business on Shabbat, because that's really working. Transaction doesn't have to take place for it to be work. Don't even pick up a pen, meaning they made extra stuff. So when you follow that extra stuff that the rabbis added, you're showing your true fear, because your fear is pretty much not only am I afraid of violating what Hashem says, but I'm afraid of even getting close to it. So now, who are these rabbis in recent generations, and how come HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave them such a merit, such a schut, to be the ones that rebuke us, that tell us we're not allowed to do a bunch of stuff, we're allowed to do a bunch of stuff, we should do a bunch of stuff, we shouldn't do a bunch of stuff. Like, for example, you should listen to a shiur if you come to a shiur. You should not play with your phone when you're in a shiur. If you're going to play with your phone during the shiur, you shouldn't be in a shiur. Why? Because it's a chilul Hashem that you're in the shiur and playing with your phone, because now you're being a distraction to other people, because they're not thinking, maybe I should play with my phone also. So now, many people think that in order to be a gadol, you have to be a giant only in learning, but your character traits not so much. So when they mention gedolim, they usually mention, oh, the Shagat Aryeh, he completed the Shas 1,000 times. 1,000 times he completed the Shas, more probably, but we know for sure 1,000. Rav Moshe Feinstein, at least 400. They know for sure at least 400 times he finished the Shas. I don't know how somebody can do that in one life, but apparently, not too long ago, he completed the Shas more than 400 times. Rav Kanievsky, he completes the Shas, Bavli, Yerushalmi, the Zohar, the Shulchan Aruch, and many, many other things, every single year. Every year, for almost 80 years in a row now. So people think, that's why he's a gadol, that's why he's a giant. They don't know much about how much they love Am Yisrael. They don't know that part of the story. How much they're willing to sacrifice for Am Yisrael. And that's some of the things that we'll share. Now, Rabbi Yisrael Misalant, when he started the Musar movement, even though Musar has been part of the Torah from its birth, a couple of 100 years ago, Am Yisrael got to a place of weakness where people simply ignored Musar. They thought if you want to be a tzaddik, learn a lot of Torah. Don't focus on your character traits, because through your learning of Torah, it'll fix your character trait. Rabbi Yisrael Misalan says wrong. It's not about how much Torah you know, but rather how much you think of yourself. Meaning, if you know a lot of Torah, but you also have a lot of ego that goes with it, it was better that you never learned Torah. Why? The Gemara says someone, a Talmid Chacham, with a big ego, bad midot, nevela sucha tova mimenu. It was better, a dead animal is better than him. Why? Because the Torah is supposed to reshape your character traits, make you a better quality human being. If you know a lot of Torah but still doesn't shape you, that means that you learn the Torah like you learn a history book. Shem Yerachem. On the other hand, if you learn Torah and you have good character traits, that's special. That's something special. Even if it means you're learning less Torah, but you've perfected your midot, that's something special. Now, when a person learns a lot of Musar, how do you know a person learns a lot of Musar? What are some of the signs? Anyone who wants to volunteer, why take a sip? Sutton.
Slow to anger.
Slow to anger, that means you are you learn a lot of Musar. Okay.
You repeat it. You by every example, everything you do. You know it says this and this, and you reference a lot. Like you see the Torah while you're doing your action.
Okay, you receive the Torah while you're doing what you're doing. Okay, no. Give me another example. So far, I have disagreements with both of you, but I'll tell you in a second. No, Chavod in the back.
You start to see changes in the person, the way they act.
So the first issue, why don't you say, listen, a person starts quoting things, or a person is slow to anger. Unfortunately, that is not always a sign. And the reason why is because there are certain people, for example, with the anger, there's certain people that have a personality trait, they're like stone. That's just, they're naturally like this. They're naturally just don't get angry. They're just like one of these people, like they're almost like in a coma, but they're alive. Doesn't matter what happens. I know a few people like this. Doesn't matter what happens, they don't move. Oh, this guy, see what happened? What? There was an accident down there. Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay, send him, what? Like, nothing. Oh, listen, somebody died. Wow. Okay. Like nothing. Nothing moved them. Nothing. Some people like this. Some people like this. I know a few people like this. A few times I checked their pulse, life, but barely. So some people have that trait. So that means that if they're slow to anger, doesn't always necessarily mean that. Doesn't always mean that. It can. It's good, but it's not verification. It's not for sure. It could be a trap of the Satan. On the other hand, you're saying someone that quotes the stuff. We just said, someone that's Talmid Chacham. What does it mean if he's Talmid Chacham? That means he knows a lot of Torah. So he could quote a lot of things, but still be a wicked, horrible person. Sometimes you see these missionaries that, like this guy Yitzchak Shapira, Shem Reshaim Yerkav. He's a Jew married to a Goya. That's a Christian missionary. And if you ask him questions, he will mention different verses in a Tanakh that he misquotes anyway, but he'll mention different things. So it sounds like he's learned. And only a learned person knows that this person is less than an Amaretz, less than a bull even. But the point is that he can mention things to you by heart. Doesn't mean that he's learned Musar, and doesn't even mean he's right. Sometimes people mention things and they're just simply they know you don't know. So if they mention anything, you'll just buy it. They do it a lot in business, by the way. They say, 76% of people, and they know no one's going to double check. They know no one's going to double check. I'll give you an example. How many people here have seen the famous what they call a fact that once you hit, let's say, 40 years old as a woman, you are going to be at least 50 to 90% less likely from having kids.
How many have heard of that?
Yeah, how many of you have heard of that?
Well, the older you get.
The older you get. So 40 years old for women, people think, once you're 40, that's it, you're not going to have kids no more. Or you have a very, very small chance. It has to be like a miracle. Hence the reason why there is a whole industry built around it. Now, most women, once they get into their late 30s, and they're not married, or they haven't had as many kids as they want, they start panicking. Guys refuse to even marry the 40-year-old girl or the 45-year-old girl if they want to start a family. It's like, no, she's already too old. She's 40, 42. No, I can't. Rabbi, I want to have kids. Why? Because they heard in school, in public school, and in other places, that if you're a 40-year-old woman, you can't have kids. Now, did anybody actually check this? No. Why? They heard it on the internet, so it must be true. What is the actual truth? The truth is two things. Number one, the chances of a 40 or 42 or 44-year-old woman versus a 25-year-old woman of having kids changes by 2%. Meaning, the 25-year-old is 84% chance of her getting pregnant. The 45-year-old, 82%.
What about deformities?
82%. As far as the deformities, they say that deformities are going to double.
Right.
They're going to double. Once they're 45 years old, 46 years old, you're going to have kids with 3 heads come out. Say, Abba, you know who we're going to pay? Who gets the allowance? Because they tell you in the new doubles. They had a whole magazine about this. What doubles means? The standard rate of some type of deformity in a baby is 0.5%. At 45 years old, it's 1%. Meaning 0.5% doubled to 1%. So they're right, it doubled, but it's 1% chance. But nobody checked. Do you know where all of the statistics are based off? That scared the living lights out of people for the last few decades?
You mean if it's a Torah secular?
Secular knowledge. Where do they base all of their research on?
Quantum physics.
Not quantum physics. A study that was made in the 1600s. Before modern medicine, before all of the things that we have developed today, foods and so on and so forth. Meaning, not only are the statistics flawed, but even the research itself is not relevant. But people just jump to conclusion and then women get depressed. Take it easy. Double check. So people mention a lot of things. Off the top of their head, no one checks. So even though someone can mention something, going back to what you said, someone can mention something to you off the top of their head, doesn't mean that they're really a righteous person or not. But what she said, which is that it changes their character, that's what we have to go with. Why? Because that's what the Torah is. Torah is not a history book that you're supposed to learn a bunch of verses by heart or a bunch of rules by heart, and therefore you are called learned. The Torah is something that's supposed to change your character, change your behavior, and to make that behavior and that character in line with what Hashem wants for you, what Hashem has decreed for you to have. So now, when a person learns a lot of Torah, he's going to learn a lot of information. But when he learns the part of the Torah that's called Musar, automatically it'll make him fall in love with Am Yisrael. Why? First and foremost, he'll start seeing himself smaller and smaller than what he thought of himself, just by seeing his own flaws. Second, he's going to see some of the good things other people have, much more than he saw when he was only looking in the mirror. Third, he's going to notice how much Hashem loves these people despite their weaknesses, and how much kindness and patience he has for them. So where does rebuke come from? If you notice, the entire 5th book of the Chumash, the book of Deuteronomy, Sefer Dvarim, is Moshe Rabbeinu's last month and a half in the world, where Moshe Rabbeinu, from the beginning of the book all the way to the end of the book, gives it to Am Yisrael on their head. He yells at them, he rebukes them, he calls them fools. Am naval velo chacham. You are a generation of fools that's stupid. Despicable, stupid people, he says to them. You go against Hashem, he's going to make you eat your kids. You go against Hashem, he's going to give you diseases. You go against Hashem, he's going to do this, this, and this to you. He gives it to them on their head, much, much scarier than I could ever be. It's coming from Moshe Rabbeinu after all. But then you see earlier, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm sorry I'm making you tired. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Moshe, let me start a new religion with you. Let me kill all of these people. They'll lose us anyway. Let me kill them, and I'll start with you. Moshe Rabbeinu goes to Hashem. No, Hashem, the tzaddikim. They just made a small mistake. What? The idol? Hashem, really you? You're glorious you? You're offended by what? A piece of metal? That's what you're offended by, Hashem? You created everything. You're offended by a bunch of little kids worshiping a metal. They didn't even worship it, really. They were dancing around it. Hashem, why are you making such a big deal out of it? You know what, Hashem? You need to kill somebody, just kill me. You need to kill somebody, Hashem, just kill me, Hashem. Wait 1 second. For a month and a half, he's rebuking them, calling them despicable, calling them fools, telling them all the punishment is going to come to them. But when Hashem says, you know what, let me punish them. No, Hashem, why are you going to punish them? Punish me instead, kill me, Hashem. What's the difference? Rabbi Misatmer, Rav Yoel Misatmer, says the following. When you go and rebuke the people, when you're trying to help the people, you must tell them the truth and the consequence of that truth. Because that's the way to help them change. You have to tell them that it's dangerous to drive fast. It's dangerous to overeat. It's dangerous to go against Hashem. It's dangerous. There's a consequence for it. You have to tell them the truth. But when you talk about Am Yisrael to Hashem, when you talk about Am Yisrael to each other, you have to talk about them in a favorable way. Tell Hashem, Hashem, look at this generation of tzaddikim. Look at these people, they're trying so hard. Look, Hashem, they love you. They're the best. They really love you. Even though they have some weaknesses, but really they're trying. You have to do limud zchut. This is a very, very important thing to know. Why? Because many people think that they can do what I do, or what Rav Mizrahi does, or what any other speaker that rebukes does, and because I talk about things like, oh, these people in this keilah are wicked, this is wicked, and people say, oh, so I could just do the same thing, right? No, you cannot. When I speak generally speaking, in order to affect the public. I tell people there's a lot wrong here. Don't drive on Shabbat. Don't go with this. Don't do this. Don't do this. I tell you the general thing, just like Moshe Rabbeinu, lehavdil for me. But Moshe Rabbeinu told the people, listen, you need to know the consequence of the crime. But when I pray, what do you think? I pray for myself? I don't remember the last time I prayed for myself. When I cry, you think I cry for myself? I don't even think I ever cried for myself. When I do this, I give shulim, you think I do this for myself? If I did, I charge you guys money. Do you understand? When you are trying to help people, you tell them the truth. But when it comes to talking about them to Hashem and even to other people, you can't tell people, oh, listen, this guy, he's the worst guy in the world. Yeah, you know what he did to me? He stood me up. He did this to me. He did, that's Lashon Hara. You can't just use what you hear in a lecture and say, oh, I'm going to do the same thing on my own independent level on one person that happens to be someone that hurt me. Why? Because, Rabotai, it's a very, very thin line between a mitzvah and a sin. And I'll give you an example that's very unique. It happened. Rav Kamenetsky, Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, Alav Shalom, wrote this story. It says a famous story that happened a couple of 100 years ago. There was a Gdol Ador at the time named Rav David Tabil. Left this world 1861. And there was also a up-and-coming prodigy named Rav David Friedman. Now, Rav David Friedman was born in 1828, meaning by the time Rav Tabil died, Rav Friedman was literally 22 years old, young, or 32 years old, 33. So anyway, young. Now, they wanted to make Rav David Tabil the head rabbi of Brisk. Head rabbi of Brisk. That was a big part of Judaism in that time. And they wanted him to be the Gadol. He says that's halacha. He was already a Gadol. He already wrote many psakim and halachot. He's one of the Talmidim of Rav Chaim Volozhin. He's very famous already. He wrote Sefer Bet David, Sefer Nachalot David. So he was already a well-known. But before you make somebody the Rishon LeZion, the biggest rabbi in a city or in a country and so on, you want to, in essence, double check. Where you want to show everybody this is why we picked him. So they usually would give like a very deep shiur that only if you're a gadol b'torah do you even understand what he's saying. But just to show you where he is and where is everybody else. Just to show you that's why he's the gadol. Because you don't have enough time to meet him and know all of his character traits, but you need to know this guy, what he's saying, that's what Moshe Rabbeinu says. So there was a few Reshaim that didn't like him. Why? He said, yeah, he's too strict. He's too strict. We don't want him to come here to Brisk. Make our life more difficult, tell us everything is not allowed. We have to stop it. But we can't tell people, listen, don't elect him. There's no one else in the world that's bigger than him. That could be the rabbi of Brisk. So how can we do it? We have to trap him. What we're going to do, we're going to send someone to come to the shiur and try to see if there's someone can mess with him a little bit. See if someone can put some doubts in the crowd. But it can't just be some missionary. It can't just be some wicked person. It has to be somebody that's also a chacham. Who is such a chacham that could actually even go head to head with him? Let's take the youngster, the prodigy, the child prodigy, that many says he's going to be the next Vilna Gaon. Rav Friedman. Rav David Friedman, many, when he was still a kid, little kid, they said this one, he's going to be like Gaon Mivilna. So even though he's a young kid, at the time maybe a teenager, let's tell him, listen, we, for the sake of emet, they don't tell the kid, listen, we're trying to trap this Gdol Ador. This little kid loves Torah, loves mitzvot. They tell him, listen, for the sake of emet, we want to make sure that the Rabbi Tabil, of David Tabil, he's really strong in the Torah. So we want to show everybody, so why don't you throw him some tough questions? Throw him some tough questions just to show everybody that he knows so much. So the kid says, sure, why not? He doesn't know there's a time and a place for questions, and this is not it. You don't ask questions during this shiur. This shiur, you come, you listen, you say, Kol HaKavod, thank you very much, Kvod Rav, kiss his hand and get a bracha, hopefully. You don't ask questions during this shiur. This shiur, you just sit there quietly, this is Gdol Hador, Baruch Hashem, I'm sitting in the same room. But this little kid doesn't know that this whole trap is happening, and he is being used as the bait. And Rav Tabil gives a shiur that's very, very high level. Half the room didn't even understand. The other half that understood was impressed as can possibly be. But the one guy that couldn't stop interrupting is little Friedman, little David Friedman. Every few minutes he asks a question, asks this question, but Rabbi about this, but Rabbi about this, but Rabbi about this, because he knew a lot of Torah. He was an enormous chacham, this kid. And by the end of the shiur, he gave enough complications to almost make the entire argument, the entire shiur, seem like it's wrong. The entire foundation of the shiur seemed like it's wrong. So after the shiur is finished, Rav Tabil called the kid, called Rav David Friedman, and he says to him, since you made me look smaller, you will remain small for the rest of your life. And that's what happened. He stayed a little kid. He never grew from that age. He was 12 years old, little 5 feet tall. He stayed that small. He never grew like everybody else. Even more so, even though his Torah was enormous, it never became a bestseller. It never became popular. Anyone that reads it knows this guy, Rav David Friedman, was a giant. But it never stuck. It never stuck. Very few people learned his work.
Why?
Now let me ask the question, why? After all he did, he asked some questions in the Torah. Aren't you allowed to ask questions? Torah is full of questions. How come I ask some questions and I'm getting punished for it? And even though, okay, fine, wasn't the right place to ask questions, wasn't the right time to ask questions, but after all, he's just a little kid. Why, you have to punish this kid, get upset, and mamash, decree it in the world for Hashem to fulfill that this kid's is gonna remain a little midget for the rest of his life? I mean, that's a hard punishment. To understand it, we have to go, Rav Ephraim explains, back over 3,000 years. The Torah in Sefer Shmuel, Shmuel 1, chapter 1, verse number 6, talks about a story about two women. One was Chana, and the other one was Penina, married to Elkanah. And Penina, the second wife, had 10 kids. Chana, 0. No kids. As if there was no uterus. As if in heaven they decided, no kids for you, nothing. Now imagine, you're married, your sister wife over here, popping kids like it's a free. You just sitting there like a dummy, don't know what to do with yourself, like as if your body doesn't function. Hashem Yachem. Sarah Imenu says, if I don't have kids, better that I die. Better I die. A woman that cannot have kids, she feels like she's not a woman. I remember I talked to one woman years ago when I was in the insurance business. She called me. I have no idea why she chose to call me out of all people in the world. She was a customer of our company, but I wasn't exactly best friends with her or anything. But apparently she ran out of people, and I was the last person to call. And she called me right after the doctor told her she can't have kids. Now, even though we weren't exactly best friends, and even though I didn't really have much of a relationship with this woman, as far as like talking and nothing, she got this news. Apparently no one else answered the phone. She had the number, she called me, and I had to listen to her for a few hours. Why? She just found the worst news of her life. She can't have kids. Now Chana has it even worse. Not only she can't have kids, but she's seeing another woman inside her house having 10, one after another. If that's not bad enough, Penina was saying, listen, only way that Chana is going to have kids is if a Kadosh Baruch Hu simply makes a miracle. Obviously it's not working, something's wrong. So Hashem has to change nature for her. So Hashem doesn't just change nature for no reason. You have to pray for it, you have to do something. You cannot get to a point where you just give up. Why? Because sometimes what happens, people have something go wrong in their life, and they just give up. I've been looking for a shidduch already for 3, 4, 5, 10 years already. I haven't found it. I'm just going to stay single for the rest of my life. I've been trying to have kids already for 10 years. Nothing yet. Okay, you know what? Hashem doesn't want me to have kids. You know what? I've been working all types of jobs and never made it in life. You know what? I'll just be a homeless guy. Forget it. They give up. They give up. Hashem doesn't like giving up. Why? As long as you're alive, you have to keep trying. You have to keep trying. Have to. That's your ishtadlut. Sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to see more from you. Now the problem is with people is that they don't necessarily want to give up, but they become okay with the situation. They stop praying for it. They stop asking Hashem to change nature for them. They stop asking Hashem to bring them salvation. Because they say, listen, I haven't had it. Okay, so that's it. You know, what could I do? So Penina was afraid. Gemara says this. In Baba Batra, page 16a. Penina was afraid that Chana was going to give up. Because she hasn't had kids yet. And she's just going to give up and she'll never have kids. So what did she do? She said, okay, I'm going to cause her to feel bad about it. How? Not to hurt her, to help her. How? I'm going to remind her constantly that she should pray for Hashem to kids. How? Every day I'm going to tell, oh look, I just bought a new outfit for one of my kids. Every day she would talk about our kids. Oh look, I bought a new outfit for my kid. What do you think of this outfit? Yeah, this is this is the 1-year-old, not the 2-year-old. The 2-year-old was 2 years ago. This is the 1-year-old. I had, 2 years in a row I had a kid. 2-year-old, Yeah. Oh, that's the 2-year-old. It's the one. No. You're talking about the 5-year-old. No, it's the 5. I had 5 in a year. 10 I have 10. That's why I have 10. And she would constantly remind every day, poke her a little bit more. Every day, poke her a little bit more. And Chana would go home and cry tears of mamash, like fountains would come out of our eyes. Fountains. Now, Penina, did she do it for herself? No. Gemara testifies, Penina did it for the sake of Chana. And Chana cried to HaKadosh Baruch Hu without stopping. And eventually, HaKadosh Baruch Hu opened the gates of heaven and gave her Shmuel. Shmuel and Navi, the Gemara says, was like Moshe Rabbeinu and Yaron together. But that's not the only kid she had. She had 5 kids. But the Pasuk in Sefer Shmuel says she has 7. Why does it say that she has 7 when in reality she had 5? The Gemara says, and in the Pasuk in the Torah says, for every kid that was born to Chana, Penina had to bury 2. 2 kids of hers would die. Hashem punished her. Every kid born to Chana, you say, oh, Baruch Hashem, Mazal Tov. For Chana, Baruch Dayan HaEmet, Hashem Yerachem. 2 kids die. First kid, Shmuel, born, 2 kids for Penina die. Second kid born, 2 more kids die. Third kid born, 2 more kids die. Fourth kid born, 2 more kids die. After 8 of her kids, Penina, 8 of her kids die, she realizes this is Hashem Yerachem. She comes to Chana and she says, I know now, the Pasuk says in the Torah, I know now that I sinned against you. My kids are not dying just because. They're dying because of what I did to you. They're dying because of the sorrow that I caused you. And she meant well by it. And Shamayim didn't accept it. And she says to her, please, you're pregnant again with your 5th kid. please adopt my 2 kids. Take my 2 kids so they don't die. Chana accepted the apology, took the kids, adopted them, and went and prayed to Hashem. Chana was a prophet. She prayed to Hashem, Hashem, please don't kill these 2 kids. Hashem says to Chana, there was already a decree written in Shamayim that these 2 kids were going to die. And they're only going to live because they're your kids now. That's why it's written that Chana had 7 kids, even though she had 5 kids. As it says in Psikta Rabati, Psikta 59, that the one that was barren, Yalda Sheva, she gave birth to 7. The one that was barren, she gave birth to 7. What 7? 5 of her own and 2 that she adopted from Pnina. Now, the question is here, still the same question that he asked before. Why? Why? Why is the kid that ends up being a big chacham, Rav Friedman, David Friedman, get punished to be a little one, even when he's an adult? All he did is ask questions. Why is Pnina, that meant well and prayed and tried to entice Chana to pray to Hashem, why does she lose 8 kids? Why? It's not fair, right? Rav Chaim Shmuelevitz, Alav Shalom, says there is no explanation other than the fact that when you're dealing with one person hurting another, you're simply playing with fire. You hurt another Jew, you're playing with fire. You cannot go to the fire and say, why did you burn me? It's fire. It's fire. Yeah, but she meant well. Well, Hashem says she may have meant well. He may have meant well. But maybe there was a little bit of a part of it that wasn't 100% well. Meaning a little bit of part of it, she enjoyed it. A little bit of part of it, she was happy about. A little bit of part of it, he got really happy that he stumped the rabbi. He got happy that he stumped the rabbi. Why? He gets $50 now. He got happy.
Wow.
He got happy that he stumped him.
It's not a good event.
Now, Rabotai Yekarim, when you're dealing with hurting another son or daughter of Hashem, you're playing with fire. Don't be surprised if you get hurt. Don't be surprised if you get burned by fire. That's what fire is. Meaning that when we rebuke each other, if that rebuke even has 1% arrogance in it, 1% ego, 1% I told you so, 1% I'm right and you wrong mentality, 1% self-interest, do yourself a favor, just give him a CD and walk away. Don't say a single word. Why? You're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt. Give him a CD, walk away. Don't say a word, don't say nothing. Why? You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to get burned by fire. Now, if a person has a habit of rebuking other people, he has to check himself to see, is part of the reason why you're rebuking them because maybe you're a little jealous that they have something you don't? Is part of the reason that you're rebuking them maybe you're taking revenge? He took something from you, he hurt you, so you're giving it them back? Getting them back? To know how clean your heart is, a person has to not only learn a lot of musar, but has to constantly reflect on himself. Now, there's a famous story of one time there was a older man on a train. And there was a couple of young Jewish guys. See this old man. He's a yeshiva bachur. These are guys that learn Torah. But they're young. They like to have a little bit of a good time. On other people's expense. So one of the guys says, let's mess with him. We got a long ride ahead of us. Let's mess with the old man a little bit. They don't know who he is. Let's mess with him a little bit. So, one guy, he's the captain. He decides to play with his ear a little bit. And the old man pretends like he doesn't know it's them. So they touch his ear and he goes, and he continues to learn, the old man. Well, he touches his ear, he goes, like he thinks it's a fly. Pretends. And they're getting a laugh and a kick, and the old man is so happy that they're happy, he lets them continue doing it. They're touching his ears, and they're touching his other ear, and they're pulling his hair a little bit, and they're messing with him. And he continues to learn, and they're laughing. Ooh, wow, they're having a good time. They're having a good time. One of them, after having so much good time, he gets a little bit overboard. What does he do? He said, listen, I gotta do this. I always wanted to do this. He goes, what? I'm gonna put his beard on fire. He goes, no, you crazy? He goes, no, come on, no. He's like napping right now. He's napping. He's like half asleep. The other guy's like, do it. Guy takes a match, puts it right under his beard, puts the beard on fire. There's a little beard, but the old man shuts it off right away and goes back to learning as if nothing. And they're having a ball. They're having a good time. They're laughing. What? This is the best prank ever. I'm going to tell everybody you're the best pranker. I can't believe you did it. And he didn't even notice it's you. Wow, you're so good. You're so this. Yeah, I'm always going to ride on trains with you from now on. Shortly after, they get to the stop. But when they get to the stop, they see that unlike any other time they've taken this train back and forth from this city to that city, this time there are literally thousands of people waiting at the train. Thousands of people waiting at the train station. So they come out, past the old man, they're having a good time. The old man's taking his time. And they leave the train, and they look at everybody, see all these Jewish people, goes, why is everybody here? What do you mean, why is everybody here? Gdol Ador is here. Goes, who? Rabbi Yisrael Misalant. They're like, we were on a train, Rabbi Yisrael Misalant, we didn't even know it. Been on this train for 10 hours. Wow, we're going to wait for him too. So everybody's waiting, and they're singing for Am Yisrael, and everybody's happy. No, everybody's happy. Gdol coming. All the songs, all the sings, and who comes out? Rabbi Yisrael Misalant. The old man with the bird beard. These three guys start hysterical crying, especially the guy that burned his beard. He's the one that did all the action. He starts hysterical crying. He doesn't know what to do with himself. He wants to bury himself on the train tracks, just to make sure that in case there's no remains. He just did all of this to the Gdol Ador. Now he can't help himself. After all the commotion and everything else, he comes to the rabbi, he finds where he is, he goes, please, forgive me, I didn't know it was you. So Rabbi Yisrael Misalant says to him, wait, so if it's just a different person, does that mean it's allowed to do everything you did? He goes, no, Kvod Harav, I'm stupid, I'm an idiot, I didn't mean to, it just, I don't know, I got the Yetzara, this, that. So Rabbi Yisrael Misalant says to him, why are you here? Why'd you come to Kovna? As though it was a city, Kovna. Why'd you come to Kovna? And he says to him, I'm here getting my certificate, my Rabbanut, for Shchita. I'm coming to the head rabbi here to get a certificate to be a shochet, to be a butcher, to get my smicha. So Rabbi Yisrael said, okay, let me test you. Okay. He starts asking him questions. He says, this person is a complete ignoramus, doesn't know anything. There's no chance in the world the head rabbi of Kovna is going to give this guy anything other than a tissue. He's not getting a smicha, he's not getting nothing. This guy should stay away from knives. Stay away from animals, stay away from people. But unlike us, Rabbi Yisrael Misalant says, listen, you need to sharpen up on a few things. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get you a room in my hotel right next to me, so we can learn every day together. I'm going to learn together with you for a few weeks until you know for sure, and then you'll go to the head rabbi. Kvod Harav, you gonna do this for me? Yeah, for sure. No, come on. So this kid gets personal shiur, chavruta, with the Gedol Ador that he just burned his beard, played with his ears, and did all types of things. After a month of learning with him, and he's paying for his hotel too. He's paying for his hotel. He's teaching him every day. After all said and done, a month later he sees he knows what he's doing. He writes him a personal letter to give to the head rabbi of Kovna. He says, I have tested this young man. He is certified, he's good. I verified that he knows all the laws of Shechita. He's signing off on it. Oh, Rabbi Yisrael. Rav of Kovna sees the Gedol Ador just signed off with this kid. He doesn't have to check nothing. Here you go, kid, take 2 smichot. So now, when this story is told initially, all of us are thinking, what is he, an angel? Like, why? Okay, so you're thinking, wait a minute. Okay, so the fact that he forgave him, okay, he's an angel. He's an angel. That's why he forgave him. He doesn't care that people are messing with him, burn his beard, play with his ear, or so on. But then the Talmidim of Rabbi Yisrael Salan said to him, okay, Kvod Harav, the fact that you're an angel and you just forgave him and you don't care that he messed with you and so on, that we can understand. But why did you go the extra mile and start spending money on him? Pay for a hotel for a month? Teach him chavruta every day? And on top, if that's not enough, you wrote him a letter, a handwritten letter to the rabbi of the city to give him a smicha? It was enough already that you forgave the guy and you didn't put a death penalty on the guy. You go to all of this. Rabbi Yisrael Misalan says something powerful. Alvay Aleinu, that we can actually take this and apply it to our life. He says the following. He says the Torah doesn't only say that you have to love your brother. It doesn't only say that. It also says, don't hate him in your heart. Meaning, okay, love him, don't do anything bad to him as you wouldn't want to do unto yourself. Don't burn his beard, okay? Love him, okay. But it also says, don't hate him in your heart. Now, even though I forgave him, I said, okay, no big deal, okay, you burned my beard, you play with my, okay, no problem. In reality, I still hated him a little bit. Why? He burned my beard. He played with my ears, he made fun of me for 5 hours straight. I hated him a little bit. I knew, I hate him. I hate him a little, in my heart, I'm not telling him. I told him I forgive you. But in my heart, I still hated him. That's a sin against the Kadosh Baruch Hu. How could I live with myself? So I had to do something to fix this. How can you stop from hating somebody? Torah says this. Do a lot for him. Love him extra. Do extra for him. Invest into him until you love him. And that's what I did. I invested more and more time in him. And I paid for him. And I taught him. And I spent time with him until I loved him again. Until I loved him again. This is why, Rabotai, parents, especially mothers, love their kids no matter what. Because you spent so much time on this kid. You woke up at night, and then you went to sleep, and then you woke up again, and then you got him a bottle, and then he doesn't want this bottle, you get him a different bottle, and then he gets the binky, he doesn't want this binky, you get him a different binky, and then he wants a teddy bear, and he wants to change the blanket, and then he changes the diaper, and then the diaper does another diaper, and you do this for years. And it seems to no end. And then finally, after he's potty trained, now you gotta deal with the rest of the stuff. And you keep doing it. You gotta do his homework. You gotta fix his homework. And you gotta make sure that he has friends. And he doesn't have friends. And he watches this. And he learns this. And you're his best friend. And you're not his friend, but you pretend. And you have to be everything that this little kid wants. And you invest so much time in him and her that you simply love this kid more than you love yourself, because you're investing more in him or her than you do in yourself. You don't have time. A normal mother told me, a normal mother told me, she said, listen, I don't remember the last time I went to the bathroom like a normal person. Why? When you have kids, you have 3, 4, 5, 6 kids, you can't go to the bathroom like a normal person. You have to, like you're on the run, like you just robbed the bank. Why? Because there's always someone crying, someone hanging from the ceiling, someone's in danger. It's pikuach nefesh every 5 seconds. The fact that the kids survive every day is a miracle. And then the husband comes home at 7, 8 o'clock at night. What'd you do all day? I worked all day. What'd you do all day? You know, at that moment, God himself wants to take his right hand and slap the guy so much, so hard, he'll remember what he did all day for the rest of his life. What'd you do all day? The fact that the kid survived and at 7 p.m. is a miracle. She can't go to the bathroom like a normal human being. She can't eat like a normal human being. She can't function like a normal human being. But that's why she loves them a lot more than the father. Why? She invested every single second into them. Every second into them. And that's why she'll love those kids more than the kids will love her. Why? She invested. No one will ever love their kids more than their mother. No one in the world other than HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. Because he made the ultimate investment. How do you stop hating somebody that really you shouldn't hate? You have to invest in them. How do you stop hating Am Yisrael that you shouldn't hate? You have to start investing in them. How do you know that you love Am Yisrael? When you've already been investing in them for a long time and you forgot what hate even feels like. When you start looking at Am Yisrael like you look at your kids, unconditional love, no matter what, you're going to change their diaper, you're going to answer their questions, you're going to do whatever you want, then you can rebuke as much as you want. Why? Because your rebuke is pure. But if you have a problem investing into Am Yisrael, be quiet. Get a CD, give it to them, go away. Be a messenger. Be a mailman. Why? Because you may cause more damage. You may cause more damage. It has to come from love, even though it's hard to hear. So now, Rabotai, when you hear about the Gedolei Ador, you hear about Chana, you hear about Pnina, you hear about these giants, how it's a danger to mess with. Am Yisrael, you want to hear some things of the people that took care of them and the people that got in their way. Rav Yaakov Kaminetsky, Alav Shalom, there was a certain hotel that would cater to the religious community, and this hotel, a couple times a year, had an event where non-religious Jews would come there, and they would use the swimming pool for mixed swimming. And some rabbis said, "Oh, listen, this place is not kosher. The whole place is chilul Hashem. The whole place is the worst," and so on and so forth. But a couple of really big rabbis says, "Listen, at the time that the event, that this hotel caters to the religious Jews, there's no mixed dancing, there's no mixed swimming, there's no chilul Hashem. You're allowed to use this hotel." So the Talmidim of Rav Kaminetsky came to the Rav. For the Rav, we have to protest. We have to do something about this. They're letting this go. These rabbis don't know what they're talking about. Igdolim, giants, they don't know what they're talking about. They're saying this hotel is kosher. Hey, look, there's pictures of people swimming together. It's chilul Hashem, this place. Rav Kaminetsky says, wait, the Gdolim already said psak. Gdolim already said psak, this is allowed. And you want me to say it's not allowed? He says, yeah, Kvod Rav, it's chilul Hashem. He says, I'm not willing to do that. Rabbi, where's the Mesirut Nefesh? Where's the self-sacrifice for Am Yisrael, for the Emet? You know, they want to be zealous. Everybody wants to be Pinchas, but you're doing all the work. Hey, Rabbi, fight this one, fight that one, look at this one, look at that one. Everyone wants you to be the Korban. Look, this guy peeped, squeaked, wrong word somewhere, there. No, make a whole shiur about him. Make sure you make fun of him too. Look at his beard, look at his hat, look at his this. So Rav Kaminetsky says to them, no, there's nothing wrong with what they did. The place is perfectly allowed. How could this be? He says, when a person, a regular person, says that a certain bird is impure, while the rabbis, the sages, says that this pure is kasher, this bird is pure. But this guy is adding a chumrah to himself. The rabbi said that this bird is allowed, but this guy, he wants to be a hero. He says, no, this bird is impure, not good. It's not bad like the apikos that says that the bird that the rabbi says is kosher, the bird that the rabbi said is not kosher. Meaning, if the rabbis says you're allowed to go, but you decide not to go, there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, you don't want to go, don't go. They say you're allowed to go, but you want to add a stringency to yourself. No problem with that. You want to add stringency to yourself? No problem. But if the rabbi says this is tarif, this is not allowed, and you now say it's allowed, you are according to the Torah and apikos. She says to his Talmidim, the rabbi says it's allowed to go. If you guys don't want to go, no problem. But if you want me to be an apikos and say not to go to this place and go against the rabbis, I'm not willing to do that. I'm not going to be an apikos. I'm not going to be an apikos. You don't want to go, don't go. But you want me to go against the rabbis? No, thank you. It's fire. It's fire. Now, at the time of Rabbi Ovadia, there were many different leniencies that he found in Halacha that stirred certain people. One of them was the issue of the Efsek Tara, that Rabbi Ovadia Pasak, that you can do 13 minutes Ben Hashmashot. Now, some of the poskim from Ashkenaz, the Ashkenazi poskim, were really riled by it. And they wanted to do what's called pishkivilim. They wanted to make posters, huge posters, and hang them all over the streets to go against Rabbi Ovadia. And some of the people went to his chavruta, Rav Tzion Abba Shaul, and told him, we're going to go against Rabbi Ovadia. Rav Tzion Abba Shaul was also Gedol Hador. When he said something, people listened. He says to these people, he says, tell all of these rabbis, before they sign anything, before they say anything, that they're simply playing with fire here. They're going to go against Rabbi Ovadia, they're simply playing with fire. Because chas v'shalom, he gets offended by it. He has emet. He's not making it up out of his head. He has emet. You're going to go against him. It's an atomic bomb. After they left, he told his Talmidim, listen, I don't want people to get hurt here. Go stand by, permanently, go stand by Rabbi Ovadia's house. Anytime you see any posters, take them down. Why? I don't want him to get hurt. Why? If he gets hurt, people are going to die. That's how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves his Torah. Now, many times people that pretend to be zealous end up being exposed themselves as criminals. They pretend to be lovers of the truth, lovers of the Torah, but eventually they get caught red-handed. Like this one guy that gave a speech for a very big Jewish organization about 3 years ago about how unity, love everyone, love everyone, love everyone. A year later, he found out he was caught loving someone he's not allowed to love. One of his Kehillah members' wife. Keynote speaker, a Dayan, a famous one, caught with one of the members of the Kehillah's wife. Love everyone. Why? Because loving everyone sells a lot more tzedakah. Now, when a person understands what's required of him, when it's the right time to rebuke, what are the conditions to rebuke, it softens him as a person. He understands that there are time and a place for everything. There's a way to do everything. You can't just shoot and aim later. There was one time that Rav Kamenetsky came to and visited one of his Talmidim's house. And his Talmid, his little daughter, just learned how to walk. She just started learning how to walk. So to entice her to walk a little further, he showed her a little candy. Oh, little candy, come, no, come. And the girl, she, little taranta, little by little, one step at a time. And she finally got to where he is. And instead of giving her the candy, he took another few steps back to entice her to work a little more. Rav Kamenetsky saw this. Said, give her the candy right now. Stop it. The Talmid, it's funny. I laughed also at first. The Talmid got so frazzled. He said, what? He gave her the candy. He goes, how dare you do that to her? He didn't know what to say. The biggest rabbi in the world just yelled at him for trying to get his daughter to walk a little more. He says, I know you mean well, but you cannot make her work so hard under the belief that she's going to get the candy just to walk back a little more and make her suffer. You can't make the baby suffer. You want to give her a second candy, fine. Give her the first candy that she earned, and then you're going to give her another candy for her to walk more. Why? We have a rule in the Torah. Even an animal that you use for work, you're not allowed to block its mouth. Why? If it wants to eat, let it eat. Let it eat. You cannot stop it from eating. You can't torture people. You can't torture babies. One of the amazing stories I heard from Rabbi Ephraim also is that how did Rabbi Ovadia, he was a sandak. Sandak is the person that sits there and holds the baby while he gets circumcised. This is one of the most critical mitzvot that a Jew has to have in his life. Not only for himself, but also for his kids. Now, because it's a very big merit and very valuable to have a righteous person sit there as the sandak holding the baby that's getting circumcised, you always want it to be a righteous person. Because it's going to influence the baby. Many say it's the character traits of the sandak affect the baby because he held him during the circumcision. So I have somebody to blame for my arrogance. It was some. So that means that Rav Ovadia was a sandak for literally thousands of Brit Milot. They would come to his shul one after another. You wouldn't have the whole celebration, everybody singing. No. 2 seconds. Come, give the baby, cut, go. Cut, baby, go. Sometimes it'd be like 5, 6 in a row. Eventually he said, listen, I'm already full. I'm already satiated of being a sandak. It's a big merit to be a sandak. But I've done enough, Baruch Hashem, for a few lifetimes. So, but Rav Ovadia had a favorite mohel. His favorite mohel is Rav Yosef Oren. Rav Yosef Oren, this should also be for the schut of his wife's neshama, who just passed a few weeks ago. Rav Yosef Oren, he also did a brit milah on Rav Ephraim's kid recently. And Rav Yosef Oren, when he did the brit milah for Rav Ephraim's son, he says, this is my brit number 35,000.
Wow.
Brit milah number 35,000. So now, there are many people that have done many britot. I don't know if there's necessarily many that did 35,000, but there's many that did a lot. I know Rav Zev, for example, I did the brit milah for my kids. Baruch Hashem, he not only is an expert, he's amazing, but he's done many from all over the world. He did. We, Baruch Hashem, anytime we had the 2 kids, we fly him all the way from New York just for him to do brit milah. Of course, there's mo'alim over here. You can find a mo'el in pretty much every Jewish community. We know Rav Zev, that's what we bring. I don't care how much it costs. What? I'll go borrow. Bring Rav Zev. Why? That's our Rav. He's the best, he knows what he's doing, and he does things that no other Moel does. Even Rav Ephraim told me, no other Moel does what Rav Zev does. He comes back to the house, he takes care of the baby, he bathes the baby, something special. He makes the whole house happy. Now, why did Rav Ovadia pick Rav Yosef Oren to be the Moel in many of the Brit, all of these Brit Milahs? He says, because with Rav Ovadia said this. He says, with this Rav Yosef Oren, he says, it's easy. The baby doesn't cry. The baby doesn't cry. When Rav Ephraim was learning how to do Brit Milah, he learned from a Rav Ephraim Menashe. And Rav Ephraim Menashe, when he was teaching him, he says that the number one rule you need to learn when you want to be a mohel, before you even learn where to cut, how to cut, you have to learn how to make sure the baby doesn't cry. He says there are some people that are stupid. What do? They think because they read it in the Kabbalah that when a baby cries it opens up the gates of heaven, so maybe we should do this Brit Milah extra slow to make the baby cry. To make the baby cry. So Rav Ephraim Menashe says, you know what, we should try the Brit Milah, the gates of heaven on their Brit Milah. Let's get it. What are you making the baby cry for the gates of heaven to open for you on the pain of the baby? You Shaim, these fools. He says, number one things, do whatever you can to limit the baby's crying. It much requires expertise, special touch, love, and so on. Why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu cares about the baby, cares about the adult, cares about the child, cares about the female, the male. He loves Am Yisrael. He loves Am Yisrael. He doesn't want you to cry. When you cry, he cries. So now, before we go and we offend people intentionally, we have to think about this. Of course, you have to do a Brit Milah, and more times than not, the baby's going to cry. I mean, after all, you're cutting a piece of his body off. But if HaKadosh Baruch Hu cares that he cries, if Rav Ovadia says, I'm going to pick this Moel because he's an expert, the baby just doesn't cry. He's so good, the baby doesn't cry. Who are we to make people cry? Are we crazy? Intentionally make people cry? A person needs to know, when you're dealing with Am Yisrael, you're dealing with fire. You're dealing with the children of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You cannot be a Gadol B'Torah but a Rasha at the same time. You cannot be effective at rebuking people but not willing to sacrifice your life for them too. Someone asked me recently, how can I be Kadosh and Gadol B'Torah like the Baba Sali? Now, aside from learning, which I don't need to explain, that the Baba Sali wasn't just a miracle worker like people think he was. He was a Dayan already when he was in his early 20s. He was the head rabbi of Morocco and 24 years old. He was a giant Chacham in the Torah, giant. People know a few miracles that he made. What they don't know is that when people would come crying to the Baba Sali because of how much suffering they're dealing with, the Baba Sali many times would stop what he's doing and start talking to Hashem, say, Hashem, please, bring this man salvation. Bring him salvation. Bring him the Yeshua. If he deserves suffering, just chop off both of my arms instead of him suffering another day. Chop off both of my arms. Instead of him suffering with this disease, with the suffering of money, or whatever he's suffering, Hashem, he deserves suffering. I'm not questioning you, Hashem. If there's suffering still on his account, just chop off both of my arms instead of his suffering. If you're willing to let your arms get chopped off because somebody else is suffering, you can rebuke as much as you want. His grandson, Rav Baruch Abu Chatzira, said a story that few know. One of the times that the Baba Sali was on a plane, there was 500 people on the plane. And the plane was expected to land, but the landing gear malfunctioned. Now, as you probably know, you cannot land a plane with 500 people in it with no wheels. The plane blows up. No matter how good of a pilot you are, no matter what. No wheels, no people. Shem Yilachem. Now initially, the pilot just kept going around and around, trying to see what they could do to fix this, but they said, listen, there's nothing to do. Landing gear malfunction, it's not opening. They make the announcement, everybody panics. Baba Sali's on the plane, he's learning. They come to him and said, Kvod Harav, we have a situation here. The landing gear of the plane is not working. Baba Sali stops what he's doing. He sees how everybody's hysterical. He stops, closes his eyes, and they were watching him. Closes his eyes, starts praying to Hashem. He says, Hashem, let's do this. You kill me instead of all of them. I'll go and sacrifice for all of them. The second he finished the prayer, the wheels came out and they landed. Shtabach Shemo. Why? When you have someone that's willing to make a sacrifice for the sake of Am Yisrael, that's a person that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will change nature for him. Which means, did he pray for himself? No, he prayed for them. But what, you think he didn't rebuke? You think he didn't tell people the truth? When someone came to him crippled, crying hysterical and in depression, hates everything about Torah, hates Hashem, hates everything. There's people there. The Baba Sai looks at him and says, you're going to keep Shabbat? The guy didn't know what to say. He says, you're going to keep Shabbat or no? He says, yes. He says, get up then. He says, what? Get up! So yell at him. People got scared, everybody got scared. No one, Baba Sai is not a yeller. He got up out of the wheelchair, started walking. He ran to the next door synagogue. He's hysterical, crying. Because why are you crying? He goes, I was crippled 5 minutes ago. There was witnesses. Witnesses. When one of his granddaughters made fun of the issue of wigs, because the Baba Sali was very strict against the wigs. Very strict. He says that anyone that wears wigs, that's going to be the material they'll use to burn her in Gehinnom with that wig. Before the idol worshipping wigs and so on, just wigs altogether he was against. Like most of the Chachamim throughout history. When one of his granddaughters made fun of it, my grandfather is a little strict. The second she finished that sentence, she got a headache. And the headache didn't go away. She used to wear a wig. The headache didn't go away. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. She's in hospitals, ICU. No one knows what to do. What's going on? After a while, I said, listen, all the checks in the world, we have no idea what's wrong with you, but this headache, this migraine headache, what you're having is nothing for us to do. At that moment, she knew I did something wrong. She went to the Baba Sali. Says, Grandpa, Saba, I'm sorry. Says, what are you sorry about? I'm sorry I made fun of what you said. What did I say? What did I say? I'm sorry what you said about the wigs, it's stringent. He goes, don't say I'm sorry to me. Say sorry to Hashem, you went against it. Okay, I'm sorry Hashem. He goes, no. Can't say sorry to Hashem. Take off the wig, put a hat on, put a mitpachat on, that's I'm sorry. She says herself, the second she put a mitpachat on, the headache went away. Not a week later, a month later, 2 years later. Second she put the mitpachat on, headache went away. Why? You fight with the Chachamim, you're playing with fire. Needless to say, you fight with his kids. So Rabotai, when we tell you that Rabbi so-and-so said this, Rabbi such and such said this, the Gadol Hador said this, the sage such and such said this, we're not mentioning famous people like the Goyim mentioned their famous people, le'avdil. We're talking about people that were literally in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's army. We're talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu's army. If they said something, it might as well be HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself said something. And if a person values what the rabbis are saying, like what Hashem says, he or she will get very, very far. He'll succeed in his life, she'll succeed in her life, whether it's zivug, or it's money, or it's children, or it's anything you want. You go with Hashem, you're never going to lose in the end. There may be some bumps in the road, there may be some tests, no questions. There's going to be tests. But in the end, you will be the biggest winner in the world. And you'll also be a winner when it comes to helping those around you, whether it's rebuking them directly or simply being the tzaddik or tzaddikah that everybody wants to be. Because your words will be accepted just like you accept the words of the sages, just like you accept the words of Hashem. On the opposite end, when someone ignores the Chachamim, doesn't think they're a big deal, makes fun of the Zohar, makes fun of the different Chachamim, oh, it's not a big deal here and it's not a big deal there, that for sure will put that person on the wrong side of the equation when they're trying to help other people, because they're not really helping them. They want to help themselves, they want to rebuke others, but really for their own reasons. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, every time you do that, you're going to get hurt in the end. You offend a single little kid, a 2-year-old kid, a 20-year-old kid, a 40-year-old kid that's a HaKadosh Baruch Hu's kid, you're going to get burned in the end. In this world and the next. Why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves his kids. He doesn't just let anybody rebuke them. What's your permission? What's your license to rebuke? You have to love Am Yisrael. How do you know you love them? You have to be willing to sacrifice everything for them. Everything. Your life too. Everything. Not ready? Okay. Your rebuke should be, give a CD. Thank you. Let us do the job. Why? We're already making the sacrifice. Might as well. You want to join? Sure. Make sure it comes from a good place. Why? It's just going to end up hurting you in the end. I don't want you to get hurt. Hashem doesn't want you to get hurt. Maybe you're not ready. But make sure you aspire. Aspire to get to that point where you love Am Yisrael. Never for a moment think that you're better than anybody else. HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves you, but He also loves them. You have your ma'alot, your great things, they also do. You did bad things, they did too. You did good things, they will too. Point is, Rabotai, is to make sure that when you're going to rebuke people, it comes from Ahavat Yisrael. Ahavat Yisrael is not something easy, because Ahavat Yisrael doesn't make any sense. It's like a mother with her kids. It doesn't make sense that a grown woman is going to stop her life, ruin everything about her body, ruin her body just for these gremlins that are running around, don't let her sleep for years. It doesn't make any sense. But that's why that love is unconditional. That's why that love is unconditional. No one is ever going to love those kids as much as the mother. No one. No one's willing to do it for them. Please remember, before you rebuke, ask yourself, do I love these people at least similar to the amount of how much my mother loves me? If the answer is not even close, then you already know the answer of whether you should rebuke directly or not. Hopefully this gave us a little bit more clarity on what we should do, what we shouldn't do, most importantly, what we should listen to, what we shouldn't listen to, and Be'ezrat Hashem get better at helping ourselves and as well as Am Yisrael. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.